Starlight Glimmer. Admitted Pedo. Wow, that's the story, okay. Oh yeah, literally the story. A gentle knock came from the door of Starlight's guidance counselor's office. It was odd because she wasn't expecting any visitors. Her schedule was clear, which meant it was an unexpected counseling session. Her heart froze in her chest at the thought of some young pony, griffin, changeling, or whatever else walking through her door. She snatched her cup of steaming hot cocoa she kept on her desk for just such an occasion.
Come in,
She called out. The door creaked open. As the shape behind slowly took form, the thumping of her heart in her throat nearly made her gag. But this wasn't some colt, filly, or hatchling. Or whatever a griffin was, because figuring out how lion and bird biology mixed was too much for her to even contemplate at the moment. Instead, this was taller. Much taller. Behind the door stepped out as an adult, and her heart finally relaxed. Better yet, it was Twilight.
Hi. Hi, Twilight.
Starlight said, forcing a smile. Twilight nodded.
Hey, Starlight. So, how's it going with the whole guidance counselor department?
The unicorn laughed nervously.
Well, since I'm the whole department, I would say someone's been snatching my lunch out of the fridge, and it's pretty tasty.
Twilight nodded again.
Funny. They published that in the Board Counselor's Digest? Well, it was better than the last issue's What Vegetables Do Librarians Like? Quiet Peas one.
Twilight snorted for just a second, regaining her composure faster than a blink.
Right. So, what's up?
Starlight asked, tilting her head and taking a sip from her cocoa. The alicorn cleared her throat, but before she said anything, she stepped further into the room, using her magic to close the door behind her.
Well, there has been some rumors going around the school. Well, it is a school. Well, not that kind of reminder.
Twilight rolled her eyes.
Like, rumors why you haven't had a single student here for guidance.
Starlight's whole body jumped at the mention of that. Her magically held cup of cocoa even lurched forward, spilling some onto her desk.
What?
She said, snatching a tissue on her desk and soaking up the cocoa as best as she could. It didn't really work well, as tissues were not really designed for soaking up chocolatey messes. A sudden bright purple flash and a scroll appeared in front of Twilight's face, held aloft by her magic.
Well, you see, we have paperwork for you to fill out when you handle students, advice offered, nature of the counseling, and such. But,
Twilight flipped the paper around, revealing the parchment completely blank.
It seems you haven't filled it out at all.
Starlight laughed nervously as she loosened her non-existent collar for her imaginary dress shirt, as was proper office attire.
Well, these kids just don't need much counseling.
Another flash, and this time Twilight poofed a pen into existence to tap against her lip.
You see, they've been making appointments. Must be my secretary. You don't have a secretary.
Twilight narrowed her eyes at Starlight. Starlight nearly choked, jolting forward just a bit but keeping a calm look on her face.
Yeah, well, maybe that's why I'm not getting my appointments. Did you think of that?
Twilight narrowed her eyes more, scanning the mayor's face up and down.
You win this round,
she muttered.
I mean, still, I based this school's curriculum around what you were taught.
Twilight rolled her head and held out her hoof.
Who better to guide these kids through the power of friendship than someone who learned it first hoof from the princess of the subject? You're perfect for it. So do your job, okay?
Starlight nodded, but after that, the room fell silent and her eyes wandered.
So...
Sensing her authority slipping with Starlight's wandering gaze, Twilight cleared her throat once more.
Obviously, that's not the only reason I'm here. If it was just poor job performance, I would just mention it to you in passing at the restroom or something, but this is more serious. More serious than shirking my job duties?
Starlight raised an eyebrow, but below the surface her spine tingled a familiar tingle. It was the tingle of fear, and that wasn't a fun tingle in the slightest. The air fell silent once again. Twilight stared before taking a deep breath.
Okay. So, I don't really know how to tackle this subject, or with tact, so here we go.
She swallowed the lump in her throat and started.
So, word around the town is you're a pedo. And that's obviously not okay because I can't have a pedo guidance counselor spending time with kids alone talking about their future. But it would also make sense that you wouldn't be helping kids if you're a pedo because, you know.
For a few moments, Starlight blinked absently. What else could she do at such an accusation? Especially one so baseless
Oh, yeah, I am.
Apparently it was not a baseless claim at all. Twilight nodded firmly. She then turned towards the door, her magic wrapping around the door handle.
That's what I thought. Good. I'm glad that we got that cleared. What? What?
She asked, stopping herself mid-step towards the exit.
I said I am.
Twilight's ears fell flat as her head lowered.
Guess I'll have to deal with this now.
She whipped back around, her horn lighting up.
So, Moon or Tartarus?
Starlight held up her hooves.
Well, I don't get why you're reacting like that!
A thunderous stomp shook the office as Twilight slammed her hoof onto the floor.
Starlight! You cannot be that open and nonchalant about that! I don't see what the big deal is!
Starlight glanced down, seeing her soggy tissue soaked in cocoa, and threw it out, leaving a smaller puddle behind.
It's more common than you think!
She looked back to Twilight and brushed her mane out of her face, casually.
Tons of ponies get urges like that around kids. It's hard to deal with.
A twitch worked its way from Twilight's wingtips down to her spine and finally through her tail.
No,
She said aloud, directing at Starlight or herself. It was kind of hard to tell as she had her eyes pinched shut like she was trying to wake up from some terrible nightmare.
Look,
Starlight began again.
I don't know why you're freaking out about this.
She shrugged.
I'm pretty sure you've noticed how uncomfortable I am around children.
With an audible pop, Twilight's eyes opened and locked onto her with an "I got you" sort of craze to get gaze.
What about Spike?
An obvious question as the two got along swimmingly. Perhaps too swimmingly. Starlight put Twilight's momentary fears to rest with a wave of her hoof.
He's a dragon, he doesn't count.
Twilight's wild smirk fell flat almost instantly.
Wait. Are you saying that you wouldn't fuck my dragon?
Disgust and confusion spread across her face.
I don't know why... I don't know why I'm offended by that, but here I am. I want to know what makes a kid not fuckable for a pedophile.
Starlight's eyes shot wide open.
Whoa, what?
She slammed her hooves on her desk, nearly jumping out of her seat. If she was still sipping her cocoa, she would have choked.
Why would you think that I'm a... Oh, yeah, I see the problem. Yep, yeah.
Twilight cocked an eyebrow. With Starlight's obvious shock, something was off.
So, you're not a pedophile?
She asked, cautiously.
Pedophobe.
Starlight stated matter-of-factly as she settled back in her seat. Twilight stared at her for a moment, waiting for the facade to crack, but Starlight was serious.
You have an irritational fear of children? Absolutely terrified.
Another few moments of silence passed.
Are you diagnosed?
Twilight finally asked.
Yeah...
Starlight, confident the shocks were over, took another sip of her cocoa.
I've got a slip from my psychiatrist in my file.
Twilight tapped her hoof onto the floor.
Shit. Now I can't discipline you for not doing your job without getting sued because it's a documented medical issue.
Starlight shrugged.
I told you I wouldn't be a good fit for guidance counselor. You fucking bitch.
I'm just kidding, that's not part of the story.